I think these events help the growers understand a lot more about the exporting and the European and worldwide customer requirements. The scale of ships that are involved, from the very small vessels to the very large ones, particularly the quality control criteria that overseas customers demand, and how that can link back in to local farm markets up here in Scotland.
I think the Meet the Exporter event has been very beneficial to me. I think it makes me realise that the world's a bigger place. Certainly the take-home message is about the size of the UK export capacity compared to other markets both in Europe and the world. So certainly I've found it most informative, and I'm very glad I came.
It's really important to be aware of the global market and the big picture situation from an exports point of view. And that really adds another string to the bow in terms of having flexibility. So in quirky seasons where maybe quality is different or may not be suited to the local market, there's that flexibility to provide supply to the global market. So there is some marketability above and beyond really a feed base grain.
Meet the Exporter initiative has been really quite helpful today. I found it quite useful just to chat with other people about their views on what's going on around the world, and just to hear what's happening on quayside ports such as there's one in here in Montrose and other ones in the south coast of England, how they are similar and how they help each other to trade across the world. So it's been quite helpful.
For a farmer in Scotland, one of the main take-home messages from the event I took was the marketing chap Jack spoke about the changing role of barley and the narrowing the gap between barley and wheat prices, and also the substitution in one of the major markets in China with barley against maize, because in this part of Scotland we do grow a lot of wheat. But it's at the end of harvest time. We're getting towards a weather window that's closing in all the time. And also we tend to have very high drying costs because we're cutting it moisture probably higher than our English colleagues are. So that if we can move to high yielding crops out of hybrid barley, cut early in the season, where we've got straw that can be used and we can reduce the fuel cost in drying, I was very encouraged by that. That was one of the main things I took home today.
Initiatives like Meet the Exporter events, fantastic. It gets the growers off of their own holdings, gets them in to see facilities and to understand how the whole supply chain starts to come together. From their point as suppliers, the challenges of haulage, the operations of putting it onto vessels, and to meet the customer expectations at the other end.
We as farmers tend to be rather colloquial and think about the domestic situation, and even worse than that, the markets for our grain very locally. But these events certainly help us think about the bigger picture. I definitely think it's worthwhile.